the many different communities within the Central American community. And even there's a lot of Salvadoran people there, and even within that, there's like different groups. The Oaxacan community that's there, historical layers that are in the neighborhood. You have the physical park itself, but within the park, there's an obelisk that's actually for the Hungarian community. And once a year, they come out, and the Hungarian community has some sort of ceremony. You had around the corner, one block over from the park, Aardvark Studio, which is an old school printing place. They do just kind of like graphics, handmade invitations. They have all these really awesome old presses. They make their own paper. You had celebrities, Hollywood celebrities getting their wedding invites made there. In this completely, you would never know it's there kind of a place. Down the way, there's a church, and I always forget the name of it, on 6th Street. It has the largest pipe organ in the world. And every day, or once a week at noon, there's a performance that's free and open to the community. And it is insane. It's like the craziest experience. And I took a couple of that I mentored there. But there are these really interesting sort of cultural gems that are disconnected from the culture of the community, and so they're not sought out, and because they're not obvious, there's no connection. People aren't actually going to those spaces or appreciating them. And then you have all the cultural assets of the community, and I think a lot of that does live within the commerce of the neighborhood, like all these little swap meets. On 6th Street, the actual 6th Street, crazy black market, night pop-ups that happen. There's a lot of work that's done with the Salvadoran community. They have their own festivals throughout the year. I think all of those things people will find a way to make those things happen, to continue them. But there's going to continue to be a tension, I think, between those different visions. I think one huge, a big example when I was working there was we had our summer season, but there was a Salvadoran group that had their Feria Vecina, which was 2 days, usually maybe a Friday. Actually, no, it was a whole weekend, Friday through Sunday, and it overlapped with our season. And when that thing happened, they would close down Wilshire between Alvarado and Parkview. And it completely just overshadowed the concerts that we were putting on. But it was providing entertainment and a kind of space that was really welcoming to that community. It was interesting to be part of that organization at a time where the leadership was like, how dare they take away from our concerts? And I think at some point we figured out a way to work with them.
Man, I think you hit on a few things that are really important, which is just generally what the conception is of culture, and this pull for a lot of people to distill culture to the lowest common denominator, and homogenize entire cultures to pretend as if culture is homogenous, right?
Yeah.
Fall into this trap. American culture, Salvadorian culture, Nicaraguan culture. We don't remember that culture is dictated by those in power, and the response to those dictations is also the generation of new aspects of that culture, right? So you can have you can come from the same place and experience culture vastly differently. And I think that's what a lot of times we fail, especially the traditional cultural arts organizations and government level entities try to do that, make it very simple, and forget that within culture there's disagreement. So the idea that you can present one singular Salvadorian culture to an entire community, thinking that everyone is going to feel that they connect to that, is almost an insult to humanity. One, two, when you look at MacArthur Park, that wasn't an intentionally created community as a Salvadorian enclave. That came from a civil war from American foreign policy, and people didn't come there purposefully. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna come together and create this community. And not only that, particularly the community that lives there now, that was people on opposing sides of the Civil War. I mean, you're talking about people who are running into people who killed their family on the street. So to pretend that like this community is has a unified cultural experience is so off base and ruins every effort. If you don't take that into consideration, you'll always be wrong. I think that's a really important thing that people fail to understand in our really American ignorance of what culture and community really looks like in the nuanced and complex ways that it carries out. So the flip side of that is also that there is a culture, that there is community there, and that community is under experience, right? So this community that came together in the early 80s, forced together, that is now the densest community in the entire country and one of the poorest communities in the entire country, has developed itself. It's almost like it's the MacArthur Park community as opposed to a Salvadorian community that is in MacArthur Park, right? It has to like deal with the physical and like cultural situation that it now finds itself in. So referring to organizations that think they're bringing culture to the community, I mean, that was literally what was told to me in that organization. We're going to teach these people how to have community. As if, I mean, that was literally the statement. It wasn't implied. That was what was said. And it was shocking because you're walking into a community that already obviously exists.